I'm excited via Zoom to welcome our buddy, Mr. Mike Iaconnelli. Brother, how the heck are you in what you just called this crazy world we live in?
I'm doing good. The world is crazy. 2020 has been strange and weird and sad and depressing and all that rolled into one. But there are a lot of good things that have come out of 2020, and one of them is fishing. And there are more people fishing today than there's been in a really, really long time. License sales are up. There's more kids fishing. There's more people spending time outdoors. And that's a big positive, in 2020.
That's a huge positive. And we'll get to, I've got a couple of questions about that for you here in a minute, as I know you would assume is going to happen here on the show, like any other show that's been going on here lately. But I did not realize that, and I guess I just forgot, but dude, you're a nation champ, a AOY, and a classic champ. So you've done it. I mean, you've won opens, you've won just about everything that you've touched, haven't you?
I've had a lot of childhood dreams come true, which is an awesome thing. And it's my wife sometimes, she says I have too much memorabilia, in our old Ike Live studio, she would joke that it was a shrine to myself, which is kind of funny. She's sitting over here, she's laughing, but the neat thing about keeping some of that memorabilia and the trophies is it really sort of keeps you grounded and reminds you, that, man, for me, it reminds me of how hard I've worked to achieve my dreams.
Sure.
And right now I'm doing this podcast with all you guys. And, as you said that, I'm looking over at the trophies that are over here, minus that camera that's blocking them. But there's the three. There's a classic, there's a Wrangler Angler National Champion, and there's an AOY. And it gives me chills. Like, that stuff never gets old to me. And it's just very humbling to know that, I've had an opportunity to win stuff like that and complete dreams,
Do you still have the vest you wore when you won a couple of those tournaments?
Oh yeah, I still have. So just to backstep a little, a lot of my what a lot of people would call hoarding tendencies,
okay, yeah,
were directly given to me through the bloodline of my mother. And my mom, I love my mom. She has kept everything of mine from when I was like born to now. So by default, I have a lot of stuff. But I do. One of the big things we've done is we've kept one vest and or, as time moved on from the 80s and 90s, one vest or jersey from each season.
Okay.
Which is really, really cool. And I don't have all of them displayed yet. I have a few up in the Ike Live studio. We have a few of them. But again, it's a great, for me, it's great to like look at a jersey or a vest and remember that year, remember 1999 and, oh my God, yeah, remember that fish. And, oh yeah, I remember at Lake Martin. Oh yeah. And this and that. And the good and the bad too, right? It's just, they're great focal points for memories of your life and of your career,
That's awesome. That's very cool. Well, let's talk about 2021, because as we all know, and anybody that's followed Angler's Channel and has followed you along the way,
yeah,
your name is not on any professional roster going for 2021. I'm just going to jump right into it. You're not there.
Wow. I like it.
I mean, you're just not listed there. And I know there's, well, I don't mean to twist, but
no, I like it.
It's the question on everybody's mind is, where is Ike going to be in 2021? I mean, the NPFL schedule's out now. The Open schedule's out now.
Yeah.
Where are you going to land, brother? I'm just going to dive right into it.
All right, Chris, did you check the National Crappie and Walleye Circuit list yet? Have you?
Oh, I haven't.
Oh.
I haven't, but that's, I have not. No, I haven't. But,
no, I said that kidding. And here's the thing. It's tough because I've answered this a few times in the last couple of weeks. I cannot give you an answer, which is it's like almost like a cop out, and I don't want to do that. But the honest answer is, at this minute, at this second of time, I don't know where I'll end up in 2021. I've got nothing derogatory to say about MLF. It's a great circuit. I had a lot of years there, from the very beginning when it was a made for TV project to the very end at BPT. They're doing some really good things over there. And the same with Bassmasters. I love bass. I love Bassmaster. I miss bass. I miss the 5 biggest fish. I miss holding fish at weigh-ins. They're doing tremendous things over there. They've done a lot of things to improve the work environment there. So I love bass, and even the new leagues that are starting, I think there's merit to those as well. But so for Becky and I, and for our lives and our business, I think some of it was just a natural growing of who we are and our brand and our business and our family. And I also want to say that COVID, what's happened with the pandemic in 2020 has sort of reinforced some of the belief that we had that, hey, listen, do we need to fish a full-time professional league to have an impact on people? And that's how we make our living, right? We try to impact people, and the companies that we work for, we try to impact people to help sell and promote and market their products. So do we need to fish a professional league in 21 to have an impact?
Right.
And with COVID, the answer was clearly no, we don't need to. And our numbers, when we analyze how many people we reached, how effective we were, how we new platforms we reached people in 20, it was as good or better than when we fished professional leagues. So, some of it has to do with that. And I'll sprinkle in the last thing too, which is, a new project that we're working really, really hard on. And same thing, I wish I could tell you more about it. And I will. I hope you guys have me back on to talk about it. But we've worked really, really hard on a new TV project. Now, I put it in quotes because TV is changing, but a really new TV project that will broaden our reach even more and hit new people, hit different people, hit a larger number of people than we could ever reach through just fishing MLF or just fishing bass.
I got you.
To sum all that up, my competitive spirit is not gone, and I love to compete. And listen, if you guys were fishing in a tournament against me right now, I'm looking at all you in the eye right now. I'd want to beat all your brains in a tournament. I'd want to outfish your, can I say ass on the show? I'd want to outfish your asses.
Absolutely.
It won't take much.
I'd want to outfish you, and that's who I am. I'm a competitor. I love tournament fishing. So tournament fishing is not going to go away from me totally, So I know that was a weird, strange, long answer, but I don't know what 21 has in store for us.
I listened to some other interviews and whatnot in kind of preparation for the show. And one note I wrote down, hearing that same synopsis of an answer there was, are we looking at and talking to the next Hank Parker or Bill Dance of the fishing industry?
I hope so. Those two, I mean, honestly, I hope so. Those two names that you mentioned, I would throw Jimmy Houston in the mix. I would throw Roland Martin. We just had Roland Martin on Ike Live on Sunday, and it was amazing. It was like a dream come true for me. It's mind-blowing. But those guys were heroes of mine. Those guys changed the sport. Those guys were able to do something groundbreaking in their era to get fishing in front of new people. If we sent a survey out, how many people, especially our age, I say our age,
sure,
30 to 50, 30 to 60, how many people in that age range can say one of those guys changed my life, right? Changed who I am from a standpoint of competing or fishing or loving the outdoors or whatever.
Sure.
And, I would love to be one of those guys. That's very flattering to be put in the same context as those guys.
Well, listening to your response to that and to the answer to that and not knowing where you're going to be, that was the first thing that came to mind because, you do have a lot of influence on a lot of people, a lot of fishermen, a lot of kids. Vegas, is a phenomenal fisherman. Follow him, and I still got to get my hat. But I mean, he's just a phenomenal kid. But and being around you and Becky and the kids, at events over the years and things like that. But that was the first thing that came to mind was I was always a Hank Parker fan, always a Roland Martin fan, and you watch those guys and you learn so much from those guys.
Yeah.
So hearing that answer, I'm like, could I be the next Hank Parker out there? Could you?
Yeah.
But you got to have a catchy little tune, to go with to go with the show.
I need a better song. I have a song, but I need a better song. I probably need something with more of a tang. You guys want to sing with me?
No,
I'll sing any of them with you.
David will. David's the hero of this group. So.
Guys, you want to sing the Roland song, the Orlando song? Come on, I know them all.
Orlando Wilson, I forgot about him.
Orlando was great too. Orlando's another icon, I hitched a boat onto the back of my truck. I called a buddy. I said, let's go try our luck. He said, I'm sorry, friend, and I can't go. I'm watching the Orlando Wilson fishing show.
Well, this is great.
And then you had the very professional announcer that came on, and he was like,
Yes.
It wasn't Orlando. It was the announcer that would come on and say, brought to you by Chevy Trucks.
Yes.
Still building Ranger boats. Still building legends one at a time. And then there was a picture of Forrest in the back and Nina. I loved it. What a great era for fishing.
It's the stuff we grew up on. It was well before YouTube and all that stuff, and it worked out
awesome.
So
awesome. So awesome.
Guys, what questions do you have, David? I know you got questions. You told me you've been lining them up all day. So
I guess I get the luxury of going first. Well, I guess I don't know. It's always nice talking to you, Ike. But
great talking to you.
What I know that you've been reinvigorated with tournament fishing, like you kind of mentioned earlier. But I know you're looking at other things as well. As of today, what's your 5-year plan then? What do you see yourself in 5 years from right now?
Our 5-year plan, and it's funny that you said that because Becky and I, and I always speak in terms of us because she's as important in the business as I am, and we always talk in terms of 5 and 10-year plans. And for a young person, that seems very far away. They say 5 years and it's like, oh my God, 5 years. But 5 and 10 years, not a very long time, right? It goes by very quick. So, we have a 5-year plan. And the interesting thing for us is it evolves a lot of different pieces. It's not one thing, and so part of that 5-year plan is to keep building the Ike Foundation, right? How do we continue to get more kids involved in fishing? How do we continue to target kids in urban areas and places where kids don't normally grow up fishing? How do we continue to target them and grow that business? It includes Bass University. How do we keep educating fishermen? It includes Ike Live. It includes all these pieces. So, the 5-year plan is more complex than just what I'm going to do from a tournament standpoint in 21, 22, 23. It's a little more complex than that. At the same time, I think the competitor in me, like I said, I don't see myself totally abandoning tournament fishing. And the other thing that I want to throw out there and maybe tease a little, you mentioned some great names, Chris, that retired from the sport and never came back out of retirement,
right?
For a full tour, So what I'm trying to say there is, if I don't tournament fish in 21, there's nothing saying I can't get back to tournament fishing in 22, 23, 24, even if I had to work to get back to the top tier. And what a great story that would be, right?
Sure.
What a great campaign that would be, right? It's almost a built-in marketing campaign by default. and so all that is going through our mind all the time from our business. And then the last thing in our 5-year plan is our family, which is the most important, and it should be for everybody. And we've got 4 kids. We've got 2 that are sort of grown up, not really, but sort of grown up. They're in their 20s, and we've got 2 little ones, and they're always forefront in our mind. And we have parents that are getting older, and all that stuff you got to think about in your 5-year plan.
Sure. Absolutely. All right, guys, who else? I know there's more.
I'll go. We hear all the time about, everybody's, saying, how do we grow the sport, or we're growing the sport. I think you kind of take this differently than probably any other fisherman that I know of. And that I think you really understand that growing the sport doesn't necessarily just mean tournament fishing. Explain some of the things that you guys do, or how important is it to you that you really try to reach people about fishing, not necessarily just tournament fishing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. And I will actually want to sort of defer this question to talk about the broader scope, which is what we could all do, and that's the great thing. Your listeners right now, and your viewers are, I want them to sort of look in the mirror and say, yeah, that's all of us, right? If you're passionate about hunting or fishing or the outdoors, conservation, we could all do stuff to grow and pass it on, And so that stuff is not always necessarily tied to the very traditional things that we do in the sport of fishing, our personal tournaments or, things that we necessarily do, but it's saying, how do we get people that don't fish, people that don't understand when you cast and that lure floating through the water and it hits the water, right? There's magic in that, and that bite and that feeling of setting, like all those things that hardcore fish heads, you talk about that. Everybody's getting chills and the hairs on their arms standing up.
Right.
But how do we get people that don't fish, kids, teenagers, young adults, senior citizens, how do we get them to experience that? And there's so many different ways, and there's not one right thing, right? But I would say you start where you can start. And like with the Ike Foundation, we have this great thing on there where we just ask you to go to the Ike Foundation webpage, which is theikefoundation.org, and we ask you to print out a pledge form. And that's it. Print the pledge form out, sign your name on it, take a picture of it with your phone. If you don't want to pay for a postage, sign it, send it back, whatever you want to do. And it just says that I will try to take someone fishing that's never been fishing before. I will try to show someone the sport in a way that they've never seen it before. It's not boring. It's not low. It's not slow. It's not Southern dominated. It's not for only white people. It's not for only people in the United States.
Right.
For everybody. And it's fun. And everyone has the power to influence someone like that. And it can be your neighbor, a friend of a friend. That's the beauty. And so I invite everyone to take that pledge and do what you can do. For us, with the platform that we've been given, which we're so lucky to have over 25 years of really working hard, it's a little bit bigger platform. So we're trying to grab it every day. We try to grab it and grab it by the horns and get people influenced, infected, exposed, whatever word you want to use.
Sure.
We try to do that every day with one of those businesses that we get to do every day, right? Tournament fishing, podcasting, webcasting, YouTube, social media, Ike Foundation, Bash U. Every day we try to reach people through those platforms that aren't the hardcore fish heads and say, this is why the sport is great.
Yeah.
This is why the sport's awesome. Please try it. And, you know, I mean, if we could all get one or two people a year doing that, and especially kids, you know, we're going to create an amazing new group of anglers, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jace?
Mike, you know, your name comes up. Mike Iaconnelli's name comes up in a group of fishermen, and it goes a couple different ways. It's, man, I really love this guy. I can't believe it. You know, I love watching him fish. I love watching him on TV. He's so animated. I love it. Or it goes the other way. I can't stand the guy. He yells too much. He yells every time he catches a fish, and I hate it. Why? Mike, I need you to tell that guy tonight why you yell every time you catch a fish.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought this up too, because it's you know, it's a topic that has different facets to it, you know, and I'm long-winded on everything, but I'd like to address,
I'm ready.
I'd like to address some of the facets of this. You know, the first one, honestly, is that, you know, being emotional and being passionate and all that stuff is okay. And, you know, for me, from when I was old enough to hold a rod, it's, you know, my first memories of fishing, I was always excited when I caught a fish, and it was a bluegill, a trout, a catfish. It didn't matter. I was always sort of loud and obnoxious, maybe borderline obnoxious, and that's who I am. And you know, it's funny because as I get older, I can't tell you how many times in the last, let's say, 2 or 3 years, I get criticized for not being as loud and obnoxious. And you know, a lot of times they'll blame it on Becky, but sometimes they blame it on just my age and then I'm getting old. But I feel like that every time I catch a fish. I feel like that. And when the cameras are off and when I'm fishing with my son Vegas and he lands one, I get excited and I yell when he lands one, right?
Sure.
So, you know, I'm not advocating that everyone yells and screams, but I want everyone to feel excited and passionate. And I think they do. I think if you're a hardcore fisherman, you feel that every time you catch one. And some people let it out, some people don't, and that's fine. So, you know, that the first facet is, you know, that's who I am, you know, that's who I am. The second part to it is, you know, it's honestly the single best thing from a business and branding standpoint. The single best thing that's ever happened to us is for me being myself and having people that don't agree with me and my brand or my personality. And I get that. I totally get that. Look, I'm a sports fan too, right? There are athletes on teams that I don't like, the entire Dallas Cowboy football team, but I didn't just say that. You know, like I get that and I'm okay with it. In fact, I'm more than okay with it because everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And you should have your own opinion. You should be able to say and feel whatever you want. And it's been a great thing for our business. Sure. You know, if I would have hid all that and you know, fell in line with somebody I'm not to try to conform to someone I'm not, I wouldn't have the brand and the business and the following and all that. It wouldn't be there. So, you know, I wouldn't want to change anything, and I wouldn't want to stop feeling like that. You know, fishing makes me feel young. And when I catch a big one, if it's in a tournament, you got to remember too, everything's amplified, right? When there's $100,000 in the line, everything's amplified. I don't want to stop feeling like that. Every time I catch a fish, I feel like I'm a kid again. And I never want to change that. So, you know, that's another facet. You know, the last part of it too, is that, I hope that, you know, the good pieces of it over the years have helped. And I hope, you know, just the bigger picture, I've hoped that I've helped get new people involved. And if this ends up being my last tournament year for the rest of my life, I can't imagine that happening. But if it ends up being, 2020 was last year, I hope people had fun. I hope I entertained people. I hope I got people involved in the sport. I hope they had fun watching me, in all the years. And I've had good things and bad things happen. I had things that, of course, if I could go back and do different, right? That's life, right? Sure. We all have mistakes. I've made mistakes. I'll make more. But I hope that, I people had fun watching. I've never, ever in my life or career have done anything maliciously to hurt anyone. And I'm in this sport because I love it. And I hope people realize that, whether they like me or not.
Sure.
Mike, I heard that story told a little bit. I guess it would be facet number 5 added to that. Growing up fishing, you were told to be quiet.
Yes. My pop. Yeah.
And now the yells are so he can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. My pop. Oh shit. My pop, my grandfather, was one of the first guys I fished with, and we would be out trout fishing. And, you got to remember, we're in these metal tin boats. We didn't own a boat. We lived in South Philadelphia, so we rented a boat in the Pocono Mountains, and we rode for years. And eventually we got our first troll motor, which was a Sears Roebuck & Co.
Mm-hmm.
Probably half your young listeners don't even know what the hell that is. It was a game fisher. It was probably like not even a 1 horsepower, like a 10-pound thrust motor. It was like we got a Cadillac, right? When we got that trolling motor. But I remember being trout fishing with my pop, and everything would be amplified in that boat. Like if you would drop like a split shot, dude, it would sound like it was hail coming down, And I remember him saying, "Shh, gotta be quiet, be quiet." But it was interesting. Like as my career grew, and as I got to fish with my grandfather toward the end of his life, he started to appreciate, I think, the excitement and the energy and the celebration. And he was there. Amazing. My first tournament I ever won, national tournament, 1994, top 100, Lake Norman, as an amateur. He was there. He got to watch that while he was still alive. So, it's a cool thing to see how things come full circle. And, again, I hope I've inspired some people and have entertained people over the years. And it's also kind of cool, to sit back and I vividly remember, in the late 90s and early 2000s, I won't name any names, but I vividly remember top level pros and industry people, really sort of looking down on all of that. And could you imagine a bass tournament now without somebody getting excited or celebrating?
Yeah,
I couldn't.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. It's the dollars and everything that go into this now are pretty crazy. And it's fun. I mean, for us, as media now or as fans watching you guys get excited on the boat, on the stage. I mean, that's what makes it. That's what makes the tournament side of the sport, and I know as a father, and you and all these guys as dads, watching our kids catch fish and watching them have a big time and watch them do things, and grow up. That's a whole nother deal to it.
Yeah.
So what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given?
Oh, man, probably, the best piece of advice, there's 2 of them. One is just the work ethic. And I think that was just a thing that if you live in the Northeast, if you're Italian, I think some of that comes by default. I came from, a background that's very normal. Just the normal background where working class family, and we all live together. That may be more of a Philly Italian thing too. You know, I lived with my mom, my uncle, my grandfather, my grandmom. We had aunts live with us. Like everybody just lived together until you're like 40, you know, you don't even get your own house, you know, it's just it's more of an ethnic geographical thing. But the work ethic for me was a great piece of advice that I got from all my family, for sure. Just the drive to work, to be the best, just outwork everybody. That's one. And then the other one comes more specifically from my uncle, who really was the one that instilled the never give up. You know, the never give up motto for us has been a great motto. And I think people first kind of heard about it at the Classic in 2003. But it's been a great motto for me. And my uncle really passed that on to me. And he's been through a lot. He's battled stage 4 cancer in his life and just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And he beat it. And he's still here today. And, you know, so that for me has been one also that's a big, just the biggest life lesson he could have ever taught me. And you just keep working hard and just keep pushing till the end. If there's an hour left or a minute or a second, you keep working, you know?
Sure. Okay. Guys, what else you got?
Mike, give me 2 things you've heard from any Bash U speaker that you still use today.
Oh gosh. Oh man, there's so many. The interesting thing, this is going to sound like a commercial, but it's the truth, is that one of my favorite parts of speaking, of having access to a lot of this BU stuff, is that I sort of get to hear it. And, you know, Jason, back when, pre-COVID, when we were still, you know, in a regular learning setting, we Bash U, we do a lot of in-classroom seminars. Mm-hmm. And when I would speak at these, I would sink back real low in the back with the other students. And I'd put my hat down and I would I would soak it all in, because I know when you're up in front of 300 people, you don't lie, and you talk about what you love and what you're good at. So when those guys would talk, I always listened, and I've learned, gosh, so many good things over the years. I mean, being with Aaron Martins on some of his seminars early on, before, you know, we've had Aaron speak with us from the very beginning, and his seminars on drop shotting, on not overworking the bait, were breakthrough for me. And it actually transferred to other aspects of finesse fishing. I remember Aaron giving the seminar where he was talking about not moving the bait, you know, like cast it out, not moving it. And I remember sitting in the back like, what? Not move? Like, no, don't you, you know. And Aaron was talking about just leaving it and the fluidity of the bait without movement. And, you know, it's things like that I've learned over the years that make you a better fisherman. And I think it's testament to the sport, you know, not even just BU. Bash University is great. You get great content over there. But the bigger thing there is you're never too old to learn something. You know, you can never know enough. And I love to continue to learn. I listen. I watch YouTube videos. I subscribe to channels. I'm a junkie because I want to keep learning, you know?
That's awesome. Mike, what do you say at this point in your career to high school, college, grassroots guys, Bass Nation guys? What do you say to those guys that are trying to make it to that next level? What do you say to them to, you know, to use your phrase, to never give up?
Yeah, that's a great one. I'm going to give you 2 things and just one little sprinkle at the end, more of a reality sprinkle. You know, the 2 things are, the one is the great thing about professional fishing is it is a barrier breaker. And, you know, just look at the panel we've got right here. A lot of diversity between the panel we got here. But the great thing about it is, a lot of those high school and college guys, they're from places where they don't pump out professional fishermen,
right.
or they're different race or different gender even. And the great thing about the sport is it breaks barriers, man. And you can do it, open level guys, aspiring, working hard, you can do it. This is a very obtainable sport, and it's the great thing about fishing. I can't tell you how many times from when I was in high school till even after I graduated rowing, after I graduated college, how many times I heard from people outside of my inner circle, my family, what do you want to do? And I would sort of give them this dream and tell them what I was doing to achieve it. Get out of here. Come on, man. Come back to earth,
Sure.
So the first thing is that, you can do it. Just work hard, never stop learning. We've hit a lot of the topics already. Work harder than the next guy. Go out of your way to learn stuff that you're not good at. If you're a spinnerbait guy, don't just throw spinnerbait. Learn it all, So that's the first thing. The second thing would be, and this is a big one, to realize that half of what you do as a professional angler, right? So if you're high school, college, an open guy, aspiring pro, and you think you're going to fish 100% of the time, tournament fish 100% of the time, you're out of your mind. 50% of what you have to do as a good full-time professional bass angler is not fishing. And you have to be as into and dedicated, and your work ethic has to be as good on that 50% as it is in the fishing. And so, the sponsors and the branding and the marketing and the sales and the social media and the digital content and the message, you got to work just as hard at that to be a really good full-time professional angler. So, the second part of that is like, man, work on that now, especially for my young anglers.
Right.
Work on that. It's easy. I don't want to say it's easy. It's something you can learn. It's something you can wrap your hands around and get good at. Everyone can. And then the last piece, and that they were two little positive things. I do have to sprinkle a reality check real quick on everything. Sprinkle it there real quick. Is that in this era of professional fishing, it's a very difficult sport to get into because of the financial side of it. And I hope that changes. I think there are a lot of things that we're doing in the sport, a lot of things anglers are doing to fix this and change this one day. But when you get that tour card with it, think about it. This high school kid worked hard all as a junior and a senior. He graduated. He picked his college based on the college team that he wanted to fish for. He got his 4-year degree in marketing and fisheries biology, a major in marketing, a minor in fisheries biology. Dude, he's done everything right. He's marketable. He's young. He's handsome. Looks nothing like Jordan Lee. He's handsome. And he gets to the opens and he kicks butt and he qualifies. Boom. 50 grand, please.
Right.
Oh yeah. And another 50 grand for a truck and a boat and lodging. I want them to also be aware of that. And it's the reality of the sport in its current form. Right. And there are 3 times as many amazing, great anglers, Kevin Van Dam, Jason Christie level anglers, that did not make it because of that.
Sure.
So, again, I don't want to be a downer, but that is the reality of the sport. And I would love to see that change one day. I'd love to see a day when that method could be high school, college opens boom, tour with no bill at the end of it. I would love to see that day come.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm with you. A couple more questions. KG, you got one? Turn your mic on, bud.
Go backward just a little bit. We were talking about, the Bass University and learning from other anglers. One thing I've noticed over the years is, fishing is a lot about personal experience. And you can hear a seminar, at a certain point in your life that maybe you haven't experienced or you hadn't put yourself in that situation. But, the following year, you might put yourself in that situation. Having that content where you can constantly go back and rewatch it or watch something you didn't understand, at some point down the road, it may become more of a reality to you because you've experienced something where you can kind of connect the dots.
That's such a great point. And it's the beauty of fishing, is that it is ever changing. Even for anglers that hardly ever venture out of their own region, maybe you fish the same 10 or 20 lakes every year. Fishing's ever changing. So, that's weather, water clarity, all those things. And so, you're going to experience a new thing sooner or later. And information is so important. Information is so key. And the great thing about how we can get information nowadays, it's so much easier access than, when I was young. I would come home waiting for my Bassmaster magazine to show up, and I would hit the record button on a VHS cassette tape. Probably another one a lot of your listeners don't even know what that is. Recording TNN and TBS and all these different shows and going back and reviewing. It's a lot easier to access now. And there's so many good forums and platforms out there, websites and podcasts like this one. And Bass University is one of them. And the great thing about Bass University, is that we release a new piece of content every week, and it's all archived, so, you can be on your boat. This is the beauty of technology. You can be on your boat. There's my wife anyway. You could be on your boat and see something that's popped up. You can go to your BU page. We have a BU app, and go and just type in the word deep water, suspended fish,
right,
muddy water, and all these hits come up. And listen to a seminar, listen to a lot, information's key. Information's power in fishing. And, you just can never know enough. You could just never know it all. Survey some of the greats out there. Rick Clunn, I've talked to about this. I've talked to Gary Klein, and they are still students of the sport. They never stop learning. So we try to do a lot of that at the Bass University.
That's cool.
And my last question is, and you've mentioned her a couple of times, but tell us the importance of having Becky on your side from a combination of either allowing you to concentrate on what you're doing on the water or helping you run your business. You guys have done a great job with all the different ventures you're involved in. Tell us, what she does for you and how she's involved in that.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing her up. She's so important to me. She's the rock sort of to my life over all the parts of it. But for sure, from a standpoint of the business, she's been unbelievable. I love to fish, and I'm passionate about fishing. And, sometimes that's awesome, but sometimes you need someone outside of that to really have that bigger vision. She's got great vision, and her background is a lot of it is in business. So, when she came into the business, and when I brought her into this world, the exciting thing is she saw all these opportunities, and a lot of them I didn't even see because I'm jaded. I was in it. I'm vested in it already. And she's really helped to build all those things. Everyone needs a good support person, whether it's a family member or a friend or a peer. having that is so important in getting to the next level in anything you do, you know? And so Becky has been, you know, my business manager, my agent, my travel expert, my accountant, my friend. She's talked me down off the ledge a lot. You know, she's just been a very, very important person in my life. And it's great, you know, it's great to have her here to share this with every day. You know, I know a lot of people in some situations working with your spouse is not a good thing. But for us, it really, really works. We actually really like each other a lot. And, you know, it's been fun. It's been fun to see where this has gotten together. You know, we've watched this grow, and she deserves a lot of the credit, if not all the credit. So she's solid. She's solid.
I've been fortunate to be around you guys years past in the campgrounds and things, and just kind of from the outside looking in, watching her kind of, you know, run this chaos in the circus while you were able to work on tackle and get things ready for the next day and then go out and fish was pretty impressive. She does a great job.
Yeah, we call her the momager because she's the mom and a manager. So she's a momager of all things, you know. She still has to teach our kids virtually and take a 1 hour phone call with AFCO and talk to our accountant this morning and talk about a new project we're working on. Honestly, this all happened today, and she was involved in all of it. And she's probably, I hear her out there talking now. She's probably on another call right now. So yeah, shout out to Becky. She's awesome.
That's awesome. All right, David, finish this up, bud.
All right, I'll be a bit greedy. I've got 3 questions for you, so you know what to prepare for. So number 1, who's on your Mount Rushmore of bass fishing?
Who or what? Or what lake? Who?
Who's on your
okay. Yeah, I like that one. Yep. Okay. There's a lot, and I don't want to I want to be careful what I say this. I have so many heroes and guys I look up to in the sport, and there's I mean, you could have like a 30-mile long Mount Rushmore, you know. It could be like that. But you know, I'll give you, like, you know, I mentioned one already. Rick Klon is one of my heroes, and I think what he's done for the sport of professional fishing is unbelievable. Just his outlook on the sport. I don't know that it would ever be matched, you know. So I would have Rick Klon up there for sure. He would be on there. Denny Brower, you know, Denny and Denny and I have had differing viewpoints over the years on things, but I can tell you that, you know, one of the things that early on that I saw in Denny that was so inspiring was how he dealt with sponsors. You know, how genuine he was. You know, he was a people person. I would put Denny on my Mount Rushmore. Another one would be Guido, and I put Guido on my Mount Rushmore from a personal experience. And I was a student at a Bassmaster University in Harrisburg years and years ago. I think it was 1991, may have been. And I remember just being in the back of the class, writing notes down and, you know, scribbling notes on this, you know, this is pre-recorder and this thing, and writing notes. And when it was all said and done, I wanted to talk to him about trying to fulfill this dream. You know, I'm from Jersey. I'm a nobody. Dude, he talked to me. It was actually him and Dion talked to me for like an hour after the seminar was over. Everyone had left.
Wow.
For crying out loud, it's Dion and me and Guido just talking. I couldn't believe it. But, you know, that impacted me a lot because, you know, if someone wants to talk to you if you've got a fan or someone who wants to talk to you, who's taking time out of their life to talk to you, you talk to them. And that was very, very impactful for me, in my career, and I've sort of tried to emulate that, in what I do with fans and meeting people. So Guido would be up there. And then, the list of other guys, we mentioned them, Hank Parker's got to be somewhere on that mountain somewhere, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Jimmy Houston and Roland have to be on that mountain. I don't know, man. How many heads are we allowed to carve in stone?
Technically there's 4, but I guess it's your
right.
Mount Rushmore.
All right. Well, whatever I gave you. Let's start with that.
All right. My second question is, not to be a downer, but if 2020 is going to be your final year of fishing at the upper echelon of bass fishing, what is your most favorite memory from across that career?
Oh gosh, man, that's hard. Yeah. Yeah, the dog incident at the Classic. That was a good one. You've heard the story before. I actually did send that dog a Christmas card for years after. I've since lost his contact information, but we did make up. There were so many, that's the thing. I think in a person's professional career, whether it's business in the city, accounting, retail, professional sports, actors, actresses, whatever your career is. I think when you look back on your life in that profession, you have so many memories, and it's hard to put them on a pedestal, one over the other. And it's the good ones, it's the bad ones, it's the ones that seem mundane. It's all like the story of your professional life. And there were so many good moments. Like I said it earlier, I wouldn't go back and change a thing. Would I go back and do things a little differently? Probably. But I also wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't want to go back and change anything. I like how it played out. If I don't get to go back and tournament fish anymore, I'm really, really happy with how I performed in those 25 plus years of tournament fishing. There were some I won, there were some I lost, and that's how it should be. That's how it should be.
Yep. All right, David. What else?
My last one, I apologize. So bit off topic with bass fishing, but let's go back to maybe with the mid to late 80s. You're in the circle, you're in a battle. What's the one song that drops that make everyone step back and say, hold on, it's Ike's song?
Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable. And I know this for sure is where we lose about 75% of your audience, but that's okay, because this is the first question that I'm really getting excited about talking about. You got to remember back then, breakdancing, which shout out to breakdancing for making the 2024 Olympics. Yeah.
Is that your new path? Is that where you're going?
There we go.
Breaking right here on the show.
You got to remember, in the early 80s, it was this new thing, and it was a new form of, almost athletics, for crying out loud. It's in the Olympics now. And it was competitive, fun, nerve-wracking, had a lot of similarities to tournament fishing, right? Your opponent in tournament fishing is the poor little fish with a brain the size of a pea. But in breakdancing, your opponent was the other crew, right? It were the other breakers. And so, man, just such a cool time period in my life. But I can vividly remember being at the clubs, and it's interesting because, again, a lot of this doesn't relate, but, we had a handful of the clubs here in this area, in the tri-state area, New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware. And, if you're watching, you're from the Northeast, Jacoby's, Sparkles, Enchante, the Roxy up in New York. We had a handful of these clubs where, you would go with your crew, you know? And I remember I used to be a breaker for 2 different crews, Unique Rockers and DGC, which stand for Devastating Ground Controllers. And, you know, I remember being at these clubs, and, you know, it would almost be like you're waiting, you know, the anticipation of this battle where you're battling that other crew, and you see that other crew and you're kind of, you know, you're giving each other the eye. And then when that song would come on, it was like a spark, you know, it was like game on. And it was so many amazing moments I can remember back then. But my song was always by a group called Soul Sonic Force and Planet. It was a song called Planet Rock. Soul Sonic Force had a lot of great music in that era. Really a great group, African Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force in the early 80s, beginnings of hip hop, beginnings of the breakdancing movement. But when Planet Rock came on, it elevated me to a whole nother level. And, you know, like in fishing, you know, you know when you get in the zone. You've watched Van Damme cranking in his heyday when he was cranking, and it was like you could see him elevate it to a whole different level. But when that song came on and the crowd would spread apart. I hear it in the back somewhere. The crowd would spread apart. You know, it was like that was the moment. And when that beat would kick in, you know, you would sort of wait for your turn. And everybody in the crew had signature moves. And, you know, my signature move during the time, I had a couple, but my two signature moves were the 1990 and Chino Hop. And I was real little back then. I honestly had a growth spurt like senior year in high school. So I was very short. I was very light, and I could do a Chino Hop in a 1990 like no one in that era in this area. And a 1990 is when you spin on your hand. So it's a one-handed handstand where you're spinning on your hand, inverted. So you're upside down. And in my heyday, I could do 7 to 9 rotations. It was just unbelievable, you know, when you would hit that move, when that song was playing, and it was the exclamation point. It was the 6-pounder in your 20-pound bag, right? And it was a great time period. And honestly, a lot of similarities to fishing. And who knows? I'm older. I'm 48, not getting any younger, but you know what? I may be training for the 2024 breakdancing Olympics.
For the 24. Wow. Dude, I got to tell you, this has been awesome. I mean, this is our last show of the year. What a way to finish off, you know, the 2020 year. Last question I've got for you is, what's on Ike's Christmas list for this Christmas?
Okay, so I'm going to give you everything. I could never answer anything with easy cut and dry answers. You know this, and the commercials will probably kick in again, and that's okay.
I've already.
So you know, I'm gonna give you a couple, and you're gonna hear 2 normal ones, and one is, you know, I think everyone on their Christmas list this year has the wish to get back to a more normal world in 2021, and it's going to happen. I see a lot of positive things happening. I hope we get there. You know, I think we're going to get there. Cannot wait for the day again to be in front of people, shaking hands, hugging people, hugging the fans. I love it. I'm a people person. It's killing me. I got a hug, man. I've got real problems with social distancing and keeping a mask on. So I want to see the world get back to normal. So that's for sure on my Christmas list. The other one is, and I've already got it, is being home at the holidays with my entire family. That's a Christmas gift that when I get every year, it's awesome. The life of a professional tournament angler is the life of not being home. So to be home for Christmas with my 4 kids and my family, it's great. We've got a new dog, Quincy, now. That's great. But the last answer is a Christmas gift that I already got. And this actually might bring me to tears too. And I have it right in front of me. I knew you were going to ask this question. When I was a kid, and I'm dating myself, but I'm going to say early 90s, 92-ish, maybe around that time. The thing that I asked for one Christmas, and it was the only thing I wanted. This is going to sound so strange, right? It wasn't a video game or a bike. I wanted the color selector.
No.
The color selector. I wanted it. It was this meter. Kenyon Hill's dad. Kenyon Hill's dad created.
Yeah.
He was a fisheries biologist. Created this meter that you would drop the damn probe down. It would tell you what color lure to use. I was like, Mom, I gotta have this. This is the one thing I got it. Please, I don't care. I wanted a damn color selector. That's what I wanted. I got it that Christmas. It was the best gift ever. I used it for years and years and years. I don't know if it really worked, but I used it. And it was like the one thing with being a hoarder, it's the one thing I didn't save for some reason.
Oh.
Today in the mail, I got a early Christmas gift from a good friend of mine, Ben Milliken Fishing over on YouTube.
Yeah. No.
Yeah!
Dang.
How awesome is that?
Look at this. It's in the box. It's got the stickers. It's got the instructions. Look at this. Look at that meter. Will you look at that?
Crystal clean, man.
Look at that. It looks like it's never been used.
Dude, that's pristine. That's mint. How cool is that?
So that's going to be on a ram mount this year on the deck, right?
It's going to be on a ram mount, all my Bass Cat, next to my Lowrance units and my Ghost trolling motor, next to my Rapala Berkeley baits. How many sponsors can I plug in this? Yes.
That's awesome.
Look at that. So I already got one of my Christmas wishes. I got a color selector again. And honestly, this one's gone in the studio. This one's gone in the Ike Live studio. And thank you, Ben. This has been a great Christmas already.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, brother, I can't tell you thank you enough for your time tonight. For your time, Becky and the kids. Tell them thank you. We wish you and your family a wonderful Christmas and an absolutely happy New Year. And can't wait to hear what happens in 2021. You text me. We'll have you back on the show. We want to know all about it. So.
I will. And I appreciate you guys, all of you, Chris, Jason, Ken, Dave. Thank you guys for the great questions. I love these interviews. These are great. Hopefully maybe I've converted a couple of my detractors tonight. And before I leave you, Chris, I still got that scar on my leg. You remember that?
I do remember that.
What the size of that thing? Look at it. It's like a 6-inch scar.
Would that doctor pull like a Coke can full of fluid out of your calf or something?
Over a Coke can full of blood and whatever else nonsense that was in there. But Chris, honestly, thank you. That whole week was a strange, crazy week, but that was a bad medical situation. It could have got worse. And I appreciate all the help. You guys were great. And I'll carry that scar with pride for the rest of my life.
My wife still tells people that you wore her pink Alabama sweatpants to bed that night.
Yes.
So,
yes.
There you go. So, brother, have a great Christmas. Thank you for your time. Happy New Year. And we'll see you next year. So
happy holidays, guys. Merry Christmas.